Have you ever wondered why silence is sometimes more damaging than the cruelest of words? When someone truly hates you, they don't always come out and say it. No, hatred doesn't always arrive with clenched fists and raised voices. Sometimes, it comes quietly, disguised as silence. It slips in like a shadow, like a cold wind you didn't see coming. When a person harbors deep hatred for you, they often stop talking. Not because they've forgiven you, not because they've found peace, but because they have chosen to erase you from their world, without the courage to confront what's in their heart. You see, silence can be louder than anger. Silence can be more cruel than 1,000 words. That person who used to call you, text you, check on you, and sit across from you, now they've vanished. And they don't vanish because they're busy. They vanish because something in their heart has turned against you. The book of Proverbs says, "Whoever hates disguises himself with his lips and harbors deceit in his heart." Hatred doesn't always come with a sword. Sometimes it comes with closed lips and a closed heart. And let's be honest, it hurts. It's confusing. You wonder what you did wrong. You agonize over whether you missed something, if you could have handled the situation better. But the truth is, real hatred often hides behind a mask of indifference. People pretend they've moved on, but in reality, they're sitting with a hardened heart, playing a silent game, not out of healing, but out of bitterness. They won't confront you. They won't forgive you. They won't even correct you. They just vanish. But that silence isn't peace. It is a punishment. They want you to feel it. They want you to wonder. They want their absence to speak what their lips won't say. And that's not love. That's not grace. That's a sign of something darker taking root. The Bible tells us that where there is hatred, there is deceit. That person might act fine in public, keep up appearances, even nod politely, but the silence tells the real story. They've buried their feelings and replaced honesty with distance. And if you're not careful, you'll confuse their silence with maturity, when really, it's a sign of a decaying spirit. And let me tell you something else. People don't always leave your life because of what you've done. Sometimes, they leave because of what they cannot stand about you. Your light irritates their darkness. Your peace agitates their chaos. Your growth threatens their insecurity. And instead of dealing with their own heart, they'd rather disappear and punish you with silence. But we must be careful not to let their hatred become our own bitterness. That's the real danger. When someone withdraws, when they cut you off without explanation, when they go cold, it's tempting to respond with the same energy. But we are not called to mirror hate. We are called to overcome it with love. That doesn't mean we let people walk over us. It doesn't mean we chase them. But it does mean we don't let their silence infect our soul. Jesus knew silence. He stood before Pilate and said nothing. He let Judas kiss him, knowing betrayal was in his heart. He walked among people who hated him without cause. He didn't curse them. He didn't chase them, but he didn't let their silence confuse him either. He knew what was in the heart of man. So, if someone in your life has gone silent not to heal but to wound you, you don't need to run after them for closure. You don't need to beg for answers. Their silence is the answer. Sometimes, God allows that silence to protect you from what their words would never admit. Sometimes, silence is the doorway to your freedom. But let me say this, guard your own heart, because the enemy would love to use their silence to stir up hatred in you. Don't fall for it. Don't carry their bitterness into your spirit. Pray for them. Bless them from a distance. And let God deal with what you cannot. Because silence may be their weapon, but love is your shield. To those of you listening right now, you've been hurt by someone who used to be close. Someone who suddenly went cold, who chose silence over reconciliation. I am here to tell you, you are not alone. God sees what they won't say. God hears what they refuse to speak, and He is the God who deals with hidden things. You don't have to carry the weight of their silence anymore. Release it to God. Let Him handle what's been left unspoken, because the silence that was meant to harm you will be the very thing God uses to lift you up. So, let's be crystal clear about something. God does not operate in confusion. He does not abandon. He does not withhold love. Anyone who acts out of hatred, whether with words or with silence, is not moving in His Spirit. So please, do not let their quiet contempt define your identity. You must let God's voice be louder than their silence. Because even when the whole world falls silent, God still speaks. And here is one of the clearest signs, a litmus test, if you will, that someone harbors deep-seated hatred in their heart toward you. They do not rejoice when you are blessed. They go quiet when your life takes flight, but they are loud when you fall. That isn't love. That isn't friendship. That is not a heart aligned with God. That is the root of hatred, disguised as jealousy and pride. When a person truly hates you, they cannot stand to see you rise. They can't bear to witness you walking in peace. And while they may not say it with their lips, their absence when you win screams a resentment louder than any insult ever could. You see, love celebrates progress. Love gets excited when others are lifted up. Love claps for you, even when it's not in the spotlight. That's the love God shows us, and the love we are called to live out. But hatred works differently. It doesn't want to see you go further. It wants to see you fail. And if you've ever had someone in your life who couldn't stand your growth, who grew cold when you got that promotion, who became distant when you finally found peace, my friend, you have seen hatred in disguise. Here's the painful truth. People will show you exactly how they feel about you, not when you're hurting, but when you start healing. Oh, they might comfort you when you're down. It's easy to do, but wait. Just wait until God starts lifting you. Wait until your light begins to shine, until your purpose begins to bloom. That's when the mask falls off. That's when hidden hearts are revealed. Some people don't hate you when you're broken. They hate you when you're whole, because your healing reminds them that they are still wounded. Your joy reminds them that they are still bitter. And your success reminds them that they have remained stagnant. Hatred can pretend to be love as long as you are beneath them, but the moment God lifts you up, they can't pretend anymore. You'll notice the shift, the missed calls, the subtle jabs, the way they distance themselves without a single explanation. They're not upset because you did something wrong. They're upset because you did something right, and your light made them uncomfortable. It's a story as old as time. When Saul hated David, it wasn't because David had sinned against him. It was because the people sang, "Saul has slain his thousands, but David his tens of thousands." Saul didn't hate David's character. He hated his success. He hated the favor on David's life. And when a person deeply hates you, it is often not about your mistakes. It's about your favor. It's about the way God keeps blessing you despite everything you've been through. And let me tell you, you will know who truly loves you by how they respond to your victories. When God opens a door, when He makes a way, when He brings beauty from your ashes, watch. Watch who rejoices with you, and watch who goes quiet. The ones who love you will lift their hands and praise God alongside you. The ones who hate you will turn away and secretly wonder, why them? They will never say it out loud, but it's there in their silence, in their absence, in the way they suddenly treat you like a threat instead of a friend. But hear me today. Do not let their silence steal your song. Do not let their absence shrink your joy, because their inability to celebrate you says far more about their heart than it does about your worth. You do not need validation from people who can't handle your blessing. You do not need applause from those who are secretly hoping you would fail. When God blesses you, He is not looking for their permission. He is looking for your obedience. And if people walk away when he lifts you up, let them walk. Some of you have been dimming your own light just to keep other people comfortable. You've been hiding your blessings to avoid stirring up their jealousy. But God did not bring you out of that storm just so you could tiptoe through life. He did not heal you so you could keep it a secret. No, He raised you up so you could shine. He raised you up so others could see His glory through you. And if someone cannot rejoice in what God has done for you, it's because they never truly loved you in the first place. Real love isn't competitive. It's not bitter. It doesn't keep score. The Bible says love does not envy. So, if someone is envious of your joy, if they are quiet when you win and loud when you lose, then you need to recognize what spirit is at work in them. That is not the Spirit of God. That is the spirit of hatred, trying to dress itself up in false concern. And maybe today, you're heartbroken because someone you loved couldn't celebrate you. You thought they'd be proud. You thought they'd be there when your breakthrough finally came, but they disappeared. They didn't show up. They said nothing. And that silence left a scar deeper than any argument ever could. But if that silence has left a scar on your heart, I need you to hear me now. God sees it. God knows it. And God will begin to surround you with a new circle people who can love you in the valley and cheer for you from the mountaintop. So do not let someone else's hatred block your praise. Keep thanking God. Keep shining. Keep growing. Because your life isn't about making others comfortable. It's about glorifying the one who brought you through the fire. And if they can't handle your light, it's because their darkness was never for you in the first place. You know, sometimes the most dangerous form of hatred doesn't come from a stranger. It comes from someone close, someone whose hand you once held, someone who knew the corners of your heart. They smile at you in public, but in private, their heart is 1,000,000 miles away. And that is the kind of hatred that wounds the deepest, not because of what is said, but because of what is hidden. You expect an attack from an enemy, but what happens when the betrayal comes wrapped in a hug? What happens when the one embracing you is the same one quietly hoping you fall? Think about it. Judas didn't come at Jesus with a sword. He didn't shout in anger. He came with a kiss. He came cloaked in a symbol of love, but his heart had already been sold. And I want to tell you something. When a person hates you but still pretends to be your friend, their actions will always expose them. You don't need to go digging. You don't need to play detective. Just be still and watch. Because God has a way of bringing to light what the heart desperately tries to hide. That person who praises you in front of others but poisons your name behind your back, they are not your friend. They are not confused. They are calculated. They are operating in the very same spirit that Judas did. And just because someone is physically close to you doesn't mean they are spiritually with you. This disguised hatred is so destructive because it makes you question your own sanity. You wonder, am I overreacting? You feel the cold front move in, but you can't prove it. You sense the shift, but you can't explain it. And in that confusion, the enemy whispers doubt into your heart. But let me remind you of this. Truth is not afraid of clarity. Truth walks in the light. It has no need to play on both sides. When someone truly loves you, they are the same person behind your back as they are to your face. But when hatred creeps in, it puts on a mask. It shows up as flattery. It shows up in forced smiles. It shows up as public support and private sabotage. They might sit at your table, but they are not there to feed your faith. They are waiting for the right moment to sell you out. You don't have to fear people like that, but you absolutely have to discern them. Not everyone who says, "God bless you," is speaking from a pure place. Some people want access to your life only to study your weaknesses. They draw near not to build with you, but to learn exactly where to break you. This is why you must stay rooted in God. Jesus knew who Judas was. He knew what was coming, but he didn't panic. He didn't retaliate. He simply walked through it. knowing his purpose was not in Judas's hands, but in his Father's. This is your playbook. When people turn on you in secret, when their hearts grow cold behind kind words, you don't have to fight them on their level. You just have to keep walking in truth. Because what they meant for evil, God will always use for good. Maybe you're in that place right now. You feel that sharp sting of betrayal. Someone you trusted has gone cold. Their words are hollow. They show up, but only for show. And you're left wondering, what did I do wrong? I want to tell you, sometimes it's not about what you did. It's about who you are becoming. The favor on your life will irritate their insecurity. The peace you carry will expose the chaos they're hiding. And rather than deal with their own issues, it's easier to strike at you from the shadows. Do not be discouraged by this. Do not let your heart become bitter. When you find yourself surrounded by those who act like friends but harbor resentment, remember Jesus went through it first, and he didn't let it stop him. He loved anyway. He served anyway. He fulfilled his mission. And that is what you must do. Keep walking, keep loving, keep trusting God. Because even if a Judas is sitting at your table, God is still in control of the outcome. You don't have to fight those who hate you in secret. You don't have to match their silence, their sarcasm, or their schemes. Just walk in the light, and God will handle the rest. Because one of the most painful realities we face is when someone begins to distance themselves. Not because life pulled them away, but because something inside their heart changed, and they never gave you the dignity of an explanation. There was no big fight. There was no final conversation. Instead, it was a slow, deliberate fade. The conversations became shorter. The calls went unanswered. They stopped asking how you were. They grew silent, not just with their words, but with their entire spirit. And friend, when someone deliberately creates distance without explanation, without a single attempt at reconciliation, it's because something much deeper is at work. Often, it's hatred. Cold, bitter, silent hatred. People who carry this kind of hatred won't confront you. No, they start a silent war. They'll be physically present, but no longer connected. They'll be in the room, but they will never truly be with you. You feel it, don't you? It's a phantom limb of a friendship you can feel, but can no longer touch. The way their eyes used to light up when they saw you? Gone. The way they used to truly listen? Gone. The way they used to share their life with you? Gone. And they won't say a word. That's how hatred hides. It doesn't always storm through the front door. Sometimes, it just quietly slips out the back. And while we try to give them the benefit of the doubt, maybe they're just busy. Maybe they're going through something eventually. The pattern becomes too clear to ignore. Because when someone truly loves you, they pursue peace. When they value you, they fight for unity. They don't ghost you. They don't give you fragments of themselves while pretending everything is fine. They speak, they show up, they make things right. But hatred avoids. Hatred withdraws. Hatred takes the sacred gift of closeness and turns it into a weapon of absence. Now, let me be very clear. Distance is not always hatred. Sometimes paths simply change, and that's okay. But when that distance is cold, when it is intentional, when it is dripping with an offense that was never voiced, when it is marked by a complete refusal to reconcile, then it is not just distance. It is rejection. It is punishment. It is hatred dressed in silence. Our hearts were designed for connection. So when someone who once walked closely with us chooses to sever that tie without cause, it cuts deep. It can leave you questioning your own worth. But I need you to hear this today. Do not blame yourself for someone else's undealt with pain. Do not take responsibility for a heart that has chosen the cowardice of silence over the courage of love. This is a slow betrayal, and the enemy loves to use it to fracture families, to divide friends, to break the bonds that God intended for good. The people doing it often tell themselves, "I'm just protecting my peace." But there is no true peace without love, and love doesn't run. Love doesn't vanish when things get hard. Love shows up. That's the love God has for you. He never pulls away to punish you. When we drift, He chases. When we fail, He speaks truth. He is never ever cold toward His children. If someone in your life makes a habit of freezing you out, don't you dare confuse that with holiness or strength. That is hatred trying to look righteous. And maybe right now, you are carrying the sting of that very distance. They never told you why. They just left you in the quiet, wondering, and it has been gnawing at your soul. Hear me. God saw it all. He heard every unspoken word. He witnessed every unanswered message and every heavy silence. He is not silent about your pain. He is near to the brokenhearted. And He will bring a justice that doesn't just embarrass them, but one that heals you. The people who truly love you will not leave you guessing. Love stays, love speaks. Love fights for peace. If someone chose to put an ocean of distance where there was once closeness, they have already shown you the condition of their heart. You don't need to chase those who refuse to walk in truth. You don't need to beg for the presence of someone who decided you weren't worth a conversation. What you need to do now is anchor yourself in the love of a God who never withdraws, who never leaves you in the dark, and who will never, ever use silence as a weapon against you. Because when someone chooses silence over reconciliation, they have already declared their loyalty, and it is not to love. There is a kind of hatred that doesn't yell. It doesn't throw stones. It doesn't even speak your name. It just stands by and watches you struggle and does nothing. This is one of the clearest signs that someone harbors something dark in their heart toward you, when they could help you, but choose not to. When they have the power to lift you, but they remain seated. When they see you drowning, and they won't even extend a hand. You see, hatred isn't just in what people do. It is in what they refuse to do. Love is an action. It moves. It sacrifices. It sees another's pain and says, "I cannot just walk by." That's why Jesus told the story of the Good Samaritan. A man was beaten and left for dead. Two religious leaders, the very people who should have helped, saw him and passed by on the other side. Their refusal to act was not neutrality. And my friend, that is a dangerous place to live. When someone you care about is hurting, there is no neutral ground. There is either love or there is something else. And when love is absent, indifference takes the wheel. And indifference is a weapon. A cold, quiet weapon that says, "You're not worth the effort. I see you bleeding, but I'd rather not get my hands dirty." I'm not talking about the moments when someone genuinely can't help. I'm talking about the moments of choice. The moments when the people you have shown up for, time and time again, suddenly vanish when it's your turn to need them. The ones who say, "I'm praying for you," but never lift a finger to help. There is no love in that. Because love doesn't just say, "I care." It asks, "What can I do?" When a person has the power to help and they don't, it reveals everything about what's truly in their heart. And perhaps you've been there. You felt that sharp sting of needing help, only to realize the very people you poured your life into have disappeared. And it hurts, doesn't it? Not because you expect to be repaid, but because you believe love would at least remember. Their inaction feels like a betrayal wrapped in calm. But I need you to hear this deep in your soul. Just because they did not show up for you does not mean you are alone. Just because they turned away does not mean God did. When you hurt, He is near. When you fall, He is present. He will never leave you on the side of the road. He doesn't ignore your pain, He steps right into it. And more than that, He sees those who withheld their help. The word says, "To him who knows to do good and does not do it, to him it is sin." That silence, that avoidance, that refusal to help, God sees it, and he will deal with the heart behind it. You don't have to seek revenge. You don't have to beg for their attention. You just have to stay in love and let the Lord be your vindication. Don't waste your energy knocking on doors that were never meant to open for you again. And finally, there is one last, deeply unsettling truth. It is the person who seems to delight in your pain. You can feel it, even if they never say a word. When you fall, there's a flicker of a smile. When you suffer, they grow unusually quiet, as if your heartbreak is a secret victory for them. They are strangely present in your collapse, not to lift you up, but to watch. And though they would never admit it, their heart has already told the truth. Because no one who loves you finds joy in your sorrow. Only a heart filled with resentment, envy, and bitterness can celebrate when another is suffering. This is the kind of hatred that masquerades as quiet observation. It doesn't curse you to your face, but it praises your setbacks behind closed doors. Let that reality sink in, not to make you bitter, but to set you free. Free from confusion, free from self-blame, and free to walk toward the genuine love that God has for you, a love that always shows up. It's subtle, but it's deadly. It's the coworker who smiles with you in meetings, but whispers about your mistakes the moment you leave. It's the friend who cheers for everyone else, but is strangely silent when it's your turn for a breakthrough. It's the family member who offers kind words in public, but secretly hopes your plans will fail so they can feel better about their own life. And while these people may never call themselves your enemy, their spirit reveals the truth. The scriptures tell us that love does not rejoice in evil, but rejoices with the truth. So when someone finds a quiet satisfaction in your pain, they have aligned themselves not with love, but with darkness. That spirit does not come from God. It comes from a heart that has allowed pride and bitterness to take root. And now, I want to speak directly to the person who has lived this, to the one who is listening right now with a knot in their stomach because this is your story. You did not imagine it. You were not being too sensitive. You felt that cold presence when you desperately needed comfort. You noticed exactly who vanished when you were hurting. You saw the ones who watched your suffering from a distance, not with compassion, but with a quiet, chilling satisfaction. And that moment, it broke something in you, because you expect an attack from an enemy. But when the people you trusted secretly enjoy your downfall, that is a wound of a different kind. Hatred has many faces. Sometimes it shouts, sometimes it withdraws, and sometimes it just watches with a smile from the shadows. Make no mistake, that quiet delight in another's pain is not harmless. It is a spiritual sickness. It is a heart so far from the love of God that it finds fulfillment in someone else's misery. And if you have been the target of that kind of hatred, let this be the truth that anchors you. Their reaction to your suffering does not define your worth. Their coldness is not a reflection of you. It is a reflection of them. There are people who will secretly celebrate your missteps because your victories are a painful reminder of their own stagnation. They will only feel strong when they perceive others as weak. But that is not how we were created to live. We were called to bear each other's burdens, to mourn with those who mourn, and to lift up the fallen. So be wise about those who are strangely silent in your seasons of breakthrough. Watch how they respond not just to your pain, but to your praise, because a heart poisoned by hate cannot handle your healing. It cannot celebrate your growth, and it cannot truly grieve your pain, because it never truly loved you in the first place. But let me leave you with this final promise. Even when people are quietly hoping for your failure, God is publicly planning your restoration. He prepares a table for you in the presence of your enemies not to shame them, but to show you that no matter how many eyes watch you fall, His hand will be the one to raise you up again. Not one whisper of delight over your pain will ever overpower the voice of God declaring your purpose. Do not let their hatred harden your heart. Do not become like them. Keep your heart clean. Stay soft. Stay free. Because the blessing of God is not built on bitterness. It is built on love. And when they rejoice at your struggle, you remember this. The battle is not yours. It's the Lord's Radiant's. And He will always fight for the one who chooses to walk in love, even when they are surrounded by hate.